Good evening. It's been a while since before Pesach. Um, However, now it's time to start over again. Today we're going to be learning perek Hey, the fifth chapter, part 3, which is the last part of the fifth chapter. In the previous parts, we learned about factors that undermine zehirut, being careful, examine our deeds. And the first factor was about working so much for whatever it is, keeping ourselves busy, and so busy that we actually have no time for learning Torah. The second factor was mockery and being lightheaded, in the sense that someone does not even think about what he's doing and where his actions are taking him. And now for the third part, which is the third factor, which is keeping bad company. So the third factor that undermines the zehirut, being careful, is keeping bad company, exposing oneself to bad influence, even if one is careful and sets aside time for learning Torah. It means that we can never think, oh, it's okay, I'm careful, I'm learning Torah, I'm careful with the mitzvot. No, nothing is going to influence me in a bad way. That is really very wrong. And it's not being realistic, put it that way. And one needs to keep checking his acts and keep checking the company that he's with. The company of fools or sinners that will undermine the effort of a person to attain zehirut. Again, zehirut means examining ourselves, checking ourselves, what we're doing so that we can achieve our goal. The natural tendency of people is to look for approval from others, to fit in with the crowd, with the others, with the social circles. And very often it actually drives people to act against their own better judgment. This influence can be over spiritual matters and over just about anything, any matter. That will put pressure. This is what we call really peer pressure, to act in ways that may not be really appropriate or really out of character. We see it in children mostly, but it also with adults, and it doesn't matter what age. One can be 20 and one can be 60 or 80. It still can be a factor. In fact, the fear of social alienation, being pushed away from society, not being accepted for who a person is, especially among young people, that is really, really a problem, because it can turn them away, especially when it comes to observing the mitzvot. It can really turn away a young person from Torah, from wanting to grow, from wanting to know more, to achieve more, do better. As a teacher, I remember how many times there were girls who would tell me, Mrs. Afriat, yes, I would like to dress properly in tzniut, but it's just not acceptable. My mother would never let me, or my friends, my sisters, my cousins, I can't do it. And to them, it seemed really impossible. something that they could not really do, because they knew that they would be shunned, they would be like pushed aside, and no one would really want to have anything to do with them. So the rejection is really something that is very strong and very real. And for that, and again, like I said, it doesn't matter what age you are, rejection is very hard to take. But there's a saying that says, tell me who you are, who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Actually, out of curiosity, I decided I'm going to Google this saying and just see what's out there. How do people, the general population, Jewish, non-Jewish, doesn't matter, what do people think about this saying? Is there some truth to it? Is there not? Not that I needed people's advice, since the Ramchal is telling us and Chachamim are telling us, we know for sure they are right. But just out of curiosity, I wanted to see. And I was very surprised that, and I'm quoting from a couple of people, and some people wrote, your friends are a reflection of who you are, and they are 100% your choice. They shape your personality, the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you see the world. They are, someone else wrote, they are a barometer of what is normal, what is possible. There were literally thousands of opinions on this topic. You can Google it yourself. And obviously, I couldn't really read them all. But really, I would say 99.9999% were saying the same thing. Different words, but really basically the same thing. Tell me who your friends are, and then I'll tell you who you are. So obviously the Ramchal does not need these people's opinions. It was just something that I was just curious, just for myself. And I found it quite interesting. People don't want and don't wish to be thought of being different. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. They don't want to think, oh, I am different than everyone else in the group, in the classroom, in the neighborhood, in the shul. And that's where the difficulty lies. It really makes it very hard. So Shlomo HaMelech comes along and teaches us, Im shonim al tit'arav, with dissenters, meaning people who change the rules of the Torah to fit them the way they want it, to make their own path of the Torah, to change the Torah. These people are to be avoided. We cannot be friends with such people, because they think the Torah is not perfect, and they don't have a problem in actually changing the rules of the Torah. We know that the Torah has been made by Hashem. It's not Moshe who wrote it, and it's not Chachamim. So the Torah is perfect. But since they can't really keep those rules, they said, okay, I can't, so I'll change the rules, which obviously we know that is really not allowed at all. And the Rambam says that it is an obligation to become friends with the tzaddik. There is such an obligation to become friends with the tzaddik and to be in the company of tzaddikim and to learn from them, learn from their actions, learn the way they behave, learn the way they think. Even if someone lives in a place where people are wicked and he realizes, this is not really a good place, that person really has got to move away and stay away from such a place and move to a place where they are tzaddikim. Even if one needs to live in isolation and live in the desert. These are the words of the Rambam. From these words, we understand that one must be extremely careful who he hangs around with. Ramchal continues, and he quotes a Gemara that says, "Le'olam te'eh da'ato shel adam me'orevet im haberiyot." A person's mind should always be with society. Always? That means that if we are with people who do things that are not really good, that we should just agree with them and just go along with them? Is that really what the Gemara means? Does that really mean that? Really? Just socialize and hang around these people? Not really. Af ata emor lo. Bameh hadvarim amurim. In that case, you have to say to this person who is asking you and telling you, no, you have got to hang around. You have got to be with everyone. You have got to be with society, right? So in that case, then you have to tell that person in what context were these words stated, were these words of the Gemara said. And bibnei adam she'osim ma'aseh bnei adam. The Gemara meant to say the Gemara stated these words regarding people who perform acts and deeds fitting for a man. It means behaving properly, appropriately, going the right places, doing the right things. Ach, lo bivnei adam she'osim ma'aseh behema. The Gemara does not mean that one should hang around society with people who behave and do things like animals. They're not doing really things that are proper. And actually, the Gemara uses a very strong term, ma'aseh behema, deeds of an animal. It means that that person is not, whoever is behaving that way, not behaving correctly, appropriately, is really not using his sechel, his good brains. And Shlomo HaMelech gives us a warning, and he says, Lech mineged leish kesil. Go far away from a person who is a fool. Now, what is a fool? The definition of a fool is someone who thinks he knows it all. He knows everything there is to know, even with Torah, and refuses to learn more, refuses to be corrected, refuses to grow. And David HaMelech said in Tehillim, Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'atzat reshaim. This is how David HaMelech started Tehillim. This is the first pasuk of Tehillim. Praiseworthy is the man who does not walk. It means that doesn't take the advice of the Rasha, and he does not stand in the path with the sinners, and does not sit with the mockers, with the scoffers. And Chachamim explain, if a person walks the path of the sinners, eventually he will stand there and stay. And if he stays, he will sit, and he will associate with those who mock and become one of them. So it means that one thing leads to another. We cannot say, oh, I'm okay, I'm just going to stand on the side, I'm not going to agree with them, I'm not going to do what they do. It doesn't exist. Because the moment we decide to stay with such people, one thing leads to another, and before we know it, we actually become a scoffer too, and like someone who mocks the Torah. And David HaMelech says further, Lo yashavti im meteshav saneti kehal mereim. I have not sat with people who are dishonest, and I did not associate with hypocrites. I have not been in the gathering of evildoers, of Reshaim, and with the wicked, with the Reshaim, I will not sit. That is how David HaMelech protected himself. We're talking about David HaMelech protecting himself. Such a tzaddik. And yet, he took all these steps and was very careful to never find himself in a bad company. Because he wanted to protect himself from from their negative influence. Now the Rachal asks the question, how should a person act instead? Okay, we have to stay away from bad company. Then what should we do? How do we act? A person has only to become purified and cleanse himself of improper influences, and to hold back his feet from following the wicked. That means, instead, he must direct his feet to the courtyard of Hashem, to the yeshiva, to the Bet HaKnesset. And this is how David HaMelech said, Erchatz benikayon kapai ve'asoveva es mizbechacha Hashem. I wash my hands, Hashem, in cleanliness and circle the Mizbeach. Once David cleansed himself of the influence of bad friends, he said, actually, I'm washing myself and cleaning myself from the influence of bad friends. It means he didn't just not stay with them, but he really, whatever he may have heard or whatever he may have seen, he really wanted to purify himself so that nothing would stay with him. And only after doing so, he now dares to approach the Mizbeach, to come closer to Hashem and achieve true closeness to Hashem. The Ramchal teaches us that to be proactive, not only in distancing ourselves, staying away from the wrong type of company, but also in searching out friends who will support us and encourage us in our spirituality. Ramchal says it's not enough to stay away. You have to be active, proactive. In what way? Stay away from the bad, but at the same time, look for people who are going to be good for you, who are going to have a good influence on you. People that you're going to learn from them. People who are going to be your role model. These are the tzaddikim and the chachamim, and they are found in yeshiva and in synagogues. They're not found outside, just walking around or wasting their time. The Ramchal then says, how do we respond to the influence of bad friends? Because we might not want to be with them, but sometimes they'll come to us, and their words against Torah, or what we do, the way we do our mitzvot, can be just like poison, or just like a piercing, like a knife. So in that case, what do we do? What do we do if we find ourselves in the company of such a person? A person who is going to tease us and about our mitzvot. So the first thing the Ramchal says is, one should not pay attention. Don't pay attention. Let it go from one ear out the other. And on the other hand, now turn the table. Now you have to tease him and not only tease him, but in a way that he should feel ashamed of what he just said. So Ramchal compares this to, let's say if you have a business opportunity that comes your way, and it's really a very, very good business opportunity, and you can't miss it. Are you going just to sit back and let it go? Or are you going to really get up and really get involved and do all the very best just to get that business? So Ramchal said that's the way it is. In that case, if someone comes to you and with his words try to destroy you, try to destroy your neshama, fight for your neshama. Answer back. Doesn't mean that you have to be mean, doesn't mean that you have to fight, but answer back to the point that he's going to feel ashamed of what he just said to you. And for this, Chachamim have told us, Heve az kanamer, kal kanesher, la'asot retzon avicha shebashamayim. Chachamim tell us that we have to be as bold, as brave as the leopard to fulfill the will of Hashem. Avicha shebashamayim, of your Father in heaven. What does this mean? It means like this. A leopard, when he attacks his victim, he does it fearlessly, and he's not afraid of the size or the strength of his victim. But he goes and just plans his attack and goes after that victim, after the prey. So too, in the Avodat Hashem, one must act boldly and fearlessly, with no concern for those who taunt and tease us. There are people who are going to try and stop us from growing, stop us from wanting to do what is good. And they're going to find all kinds of ways. But Chachamim teach us, be like the leopard. Be fearless. Just go ahead and do it. Do what you know is right. Do it, no shame, but proud and fearless. And David HaMelech said, Va'adabera be'odetecha, neged melachim velo evosh. David HaMelech as a king, many times he found himself sitting with other kings. And many times they would speak politics, which was necessary. But also they would speak of all kind of enjoyment and all kind of things they could do together, like hunting and all kind of enjoyment that they wanted to get. And David HaMelech said, that was not for me. Even to these kings, I will speak to them about Torah, about values. I will not be ashamed. I'm not scared to be ashamed. I'm not afraid. I'm not embarrassed. But they're going to mock me? David HaMelech let it slide very easily off his shoulder. And he was very proud. And every time, every opportunity, he would just open up and speak about Hashem and teach the other kings about Hashem. Now we come to the conclusion of chapter number 5, which again, I repeat, in here we learned about the 3 factors that undermine zehirut, undermine the being careful about what we do, checking ourselves, right? Because we want to reach Be'ezrat Hashem, to achieve our goal. So the first factor was the preoccupation, being busy with our jobs or all kind of things. So there's no time for learning, and for that, the only way to actually fight the Yetzer Hara, because it's a Yetzer Hara that keeps us busy, is to actually learn Torah and it's extremely important to set fixed time for learning, because that is what's going to have a routine, and that was going to give us the strength to continue and not give in to the Yetzirah. Factor number 2 is mockery and lightheaded. People who tease us, or people who just do things without any thought of consequences or what's going to be. And one must really always think first, what is the outcome of my actions? And for such people, teshuvah is something that is very hard, and they will do teshuvah only once they go through suffering. That's the only way they can do teshuvah. Number 3, negative influence, keeping bad company, as we just learned, and it must be avoided, and if necessary, confronted. So Be'ezrat Hashem, in the zechut of learning, may Hashem listen to all our prayers and bless us with briyut, as now we are in the month of Iyar. Iyar stands for Ani Hashem Raf'echa, I am Hashem, your healer. May Hashem bless us with shalom, with parnassah tova, with nachat, and shidduchim for all those who need, and send us the right shelichim, the right messengers to help us achieve our goal, and always be in good company.